What is this I hear? Do you have the press release on this? I think I got it here somewhere on the WWE ID program.
I do have this here. Let me pull this up.
And the ID stands for independent development. You know, remember when we made the joke that they ought to take all these streaming services and all the video services and put them all together under one umbrella and call it cable television?
Well, it was Jim Gaffigan's joke that we took onto the air. Let's give him credit.
Well, okay. Well, I couldn't remember whose name. All I remember was you stole it, and then I stole it from you.
Now you're telling the truth. Yes.
Well, I didn't feel the need to explain it. I thought that was common knowledge, but nevertheless, that's the same thing. That's the same thing they're doing here, as I will tell you about in a minute. But it's not like it's a new idea, but it's probably going to cost them a lot more money, and they're going to spend more money on it. But we'll go into this. But did you? Should we bring the people up on it?
Yeah, let me go to the press release here and we'll discuss it because there's a lot to it and really what it could in the long term affect in terms of the talent pool. But October 29, 2024, WWE Today announced the launch of its first of its kind developmental program designed to provide up and coming independent wrestlers a pathway to a potential career in WWE. A pathway to a potential career.
Yes, like
the program will be called...
Sounds like a long road ahead.
The program will be called WWE ID, short for WWE Independent Development.
Trademark.
Here's a quote from WWE's Chief Content Officer, Paul Triple H Levesque. WWE ID is the latest in our efforts to identify and support the journey of up-and-coming wrestlers, in turn raising the profile of and strengthening the independent wrestling ecosystem. Following the 2021 launch of WWE's NIL program, WWE ID has been constructed to support independent wrestling prospects and wrestling schools with world-class training, development, and mentorship.
Can I just butt in here just for a second, Brian? Not to interrupt you while you're on a flow, but how many? The NIL program was like college athletes or pro athletes or whatever kind of into the football players, the baseball players, basketball players, the hockey players, lacrosse players, ping pong players, whoever these people are, that they were partnering with or giving some support to in some way for them to be somehow affiliated with it. Has anybody come to WWE out of that program?
I'm not exactly sure, and I'm trying to see if there's anything that...
They haven't been trumpeting it from the rooftops if they have they?
Obafemi is apparently from the NIL program, next in line, NIL. They don't call it NIL, do they? They call it NIL.
No, I think it's name, image, and likeness.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be. I think that's what it is in college.
But they're calling it next in line,
yes.
Right?
They already stole your ID. Now they want to get everything.
They got Oba. But no, but then here's the thing. Now they've thought, well, my God, here's a revolutionary thought. Instead of going after and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, go after everybody. Cast a wide net. Go after the athletic prospects and freaks of the day. But they've had a brilliant idea 3 years after going after the football players and the college players, the pro players, whoever the fuck. Let's go after people that are already in the goddamn wrestling business. You see what I'm saying?
Well, let me go back.
Is this a revolutionary fucking thing? They just thought, shit, maybe we ought to goddamn go after some of the people that actually already kind of do this.
I'll continue with this press release here. Under the program, WWE will provide prominent independent wrestling schools with the WWE ID official designation, with the goal of providing new trainees and existing talent at these selected institutions.
Now we're slathering it on with a fucking trowel now, aren't we?
existing talent at these.
I've partially owned and run one of these type of institutions, and it may have qualified for a fucking state institution, but go ahead.
These select institutions with enhanced developmental opportunities: Booker T's Reality of Wrestling in Houston, Cody Rhodes' Nightmare Factory in Atlanta, minus QT Marshall, I assume. His name isn't there all of a sudden. Seth Rollins' Black and Brave Academy in Davenport, Iowa. The Elite Pro Wrestling...
It's a media hub, Davenport.
The Elite Pro Wrestling Training Center in Concord, New Hampshire, and Knox Pro Academy in Los Angeles are the first WWE ID independent wrestling schools to earn the official designation.
Well, okay, and hop in. I'm not going to take the piss out of these people, but let's hop in here for a second, because obviously we know Booker T's school in Houston, Cody's in Atlanta, Seth's in Davenport. The Knox Pro Academy, that's Rikishi's school, isn't it? Or does the Samoan family has something? I believe it's Rikishi, I think. And who does Elite Pro Wrestling in Concord, New Hampshire? But they're somewhere near Triple H's hometown. And I'm trying to think who that might be. Do you have any idea?
I'm looking at the Knox Pro website, and it appears to be Rikishi with... please forgive me, I'm not sure what other family member this is.
Well, but I mean, for the point that I'm making, we're not. They can contact us for rates, and we'll give them the whole fucking advertising schmear.
Who's this? They have some guy wrestling for them, Journey Fatu. He looks like he may be Jacob Fatu's brother or something, based on the looks here.
God damn, there's another one.
There's another one.
Fucking hell.
Oh, it's Rikishi and the Black Pearl. I don't know. I'm not too familiar.
Okay. Yes, the Black. Yes, he's a member of the family.
He's the pearl of the family, some say.
He's the pearl of the family. She wore a pearl necklace. Anyway, what I'm trying to say to you is that, yes, because they know who these people are, they can go and see the school. They know that they're not going to do anything potentially to hurt any of the WWE talent. I'm sure that every once in a while, some of the people, maybe from NXT or maybe that aren't heavily relied on these days, might show up at some of these places. Same thing. It's the same principle as OVW in the developmental days, where we would have guys come down and help some of the people they had an investment in. But also, this is not a new idea. And the reason I say that is because in the 90s, we were kind of unofficially doing something, because I had always kept up with, because either in Smoky Mountain Wrestling or then when I was in Stamford working in the office, I was the guy for quite some time that was booking the local guys. They call them an enhancement talent or extras, but the job guys. And at that time, it wasn't an insult to me. Guys would say, hey, can you get me to do some jobs on WWF TV? But I would keep lists when we were in a specific area of the country. Like in Chicago, we would always call Chris Daniels at that point, because he was just starting. He wanted the work, right? And Rhino, bless him, he did you hear he plugged me on his TNA Hall of Fame acceptance speech?
Oh, that's very nice.
Because I was the first guy that, and he said this, I was the first guy where he didn't say that. That would have been egotistical of him saying
Jim was my first guy.
Well, no, he said
that on the pay-per-view?
Would you quit? He said Jim Cornette was the first guy that saw something in me. And I pulled it right out of him. No, would you stop? Now you've got me doing it. But the point is, I'd seen I'm trying to think what it was. It may have been, in 1994, when the Rock and Roll Express to Heavenly Bodies from Smoky Mountain, we went up and did a couple of shows in Michigan for Gary Woronchik. That's where I found Bruiser Bedlam, just on the show there. But also in Smoky Mountain, guys would send me tapes. That's, Candido or people would be recommended, or whatever. But then later on, as I said at the WWF, not only calling guys for jobs on television, but also booking the guys at the time, the Billy Guns of the world, the Road Dogs that were before they started doing anything with them that weren't booked. They wanted to work on third party shows where they could do independent shows and make $500 or $750 or $1,000, depending on who it was. And when I was doing the third party promoters, I had to keep track of who I could book these guys to that had insurance and was doing somewhat of a legitimate show. And not only wasn't going to ask these guys to do anything stupid, they might get hurt, but also on the same show, even if they weren't involved, we were going to have a goddamn chainsaw death match where somebody was going to get airlifted and it'd make the local news or something to besmirch the WWF's reputation. Little did we know at the time we could leave that to the owners of the fucking company. But yeah, exactly. But he wasn't quite as raspy then. But so...
And he wasn't big on supporting independent wrestling.
Well, exactly, because he hadn't learned yet. But since I was doing that, I knew, you could depend on Blaine DeSantis over in Pennsylvania or Jimmy Kittner in Delaware or Dennis Corluzzo in New Jersey if I kept an eye on him. And not only did I book a lot of the guys to these shows that, otherwise would have been sitting home and being off, but they didn't get in trouble with the WWF office. And I got on the shows too and made some extra money for the FICA fund, or actually the FCIA fund. Fuck Connecticut in the ass, so I could get out of there.
Hey, I went to the website of the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy, or Training Center, I should say. They're an institution, yes. I know that. Unlike the Knox one, which just had pictures of the Samoan family all over the website, the first thing you have here is just a giant WWE ID logo. And then it has the press release, and then it has their mission. And I'm going to guess this may be a Triple H connection. Otherwise, I'm not sure why this school would be hooked up.
New Hampshire, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's...
Because the head trainer is a Kowalski guy.
Well, there you go. But anyway, the point I was making is that that's what kind of morphed into a thing where we got... Because I was always trying to keep track of who the top guys were working for the promoters that ran decent shows, whether it be in the Northeast or down South or the Midwest or whatever. And we would get their top guys opportunities even to do jobs because that's how you got seen. And that's Devin Storm had a number of
great guy
matches and a number of tryouts with WWF, but he ended up being Crowbar in WCW. Christopher Daniels. I was, had booked on TV to do jobs, but also when he came to one of the early versions of the camps. It didn't work out there, but he went to TNA.
Rick Ratchet. If you ever wanted to empty a room, you just put Rick Ratchet in the ring.
Well, there you go. No, come on now. Don't make me. I'm trying to say that there were some legitimate folks here that. No, but and I mentioned Rhino before because I've told the story when Bruce said, "Well, he just doesn't have any personality." I'm like, he's 19 years old. He's got fucking thighs as big as my waist. He'll fucking look at his head. Goddamn, can't you see this? He's a fucking living gimmick.
Isn't it weird that Bruce would say that to you about him or other people? Yet Bruce has like no personality.
Well, and the thing is, I would say that's why Bruce wasn't on television. But goddamn, they put him on TV, didn't they? But anyway, that was the thing then with OVW. I still knew where some of these people were, and we could get them to come in and have an easier time to be seen. And that's what they're trying to do now. And then it's also the same thing with OVW. Remember, there were other developmental connections for a short period of time. And this was Jim Ross's thought process, and I was totally behind it, was that when they were affiliated with Les Thatcher and the Heartland Wrestling Association in Cincinnati. And Les's drawback up there was he didn't have a great play. He didn't really have any place to shoot television like we had established here, but he was running regular events. And then, of course, Deep South, that turned out to be a complete fiasco for all the reasons that have been discussed. But the idea was a developmental territory in Georgia, one in Ohio, one here in Kentucky and southern Indiana. We'd welcome something in Texas or wherever it may be, where we would rotate guys that were in this system that were not being trained the same way, but all being trained the right way and not some off kilter bullshit, or they be doing goddamn, ladder matches in front of 12 people and breaking their legs. Because there were still a lot of good looking prospects in the business at that time, as well as, when they were absorbing the people from WCW, or not absorbing them, but putting them in a program for very little cost to see if they get anything. Not the stars, they didn't get absorbed. And unfortunately, just for one reason or another, OVW is the only one that worked. But that was the thought. And it's still valid, because a lot of times I would have guys in my territory of everything 120 miles in a circle of Louisville for 3 fucking years. And the ones that are over with the people and they really like, that wasn't too hard. But then, with the other ones, yeah, it's hard. So there was no place for them to switch out, and then also to work in front of a different regions, a different companies, a different territories. Fans react to things differently, and that's another way you'd get experience. So that was the idea that JR had, and we talked about it 20 years ago. This is just, these schools don't, I know Booker does run live events. I don't know how many of the schools run how many live events, but they need the NXT guys. We said that should be a college, but they're taking in people that haven't been to high school before they go to college. You need repetition at the flea market in fucking Sewanee, Tennessee.
Well, can we talk about this from another aspect, another perspective? Another angle, I guess. We've talked in the past about problems AEW is having and will have with talent pool, with getting new talent, with finding new stars, with signing people. And when you look traditionally at wrestling wars, Montreal, Georgia, various other examples, when you get shut off from talent, eventually that gets you. Because people get tired of the same talent over and over. AEW
and or the ones that have no other choice and so come to you.
Right, and AEW, as we've talked about, Kevin Owens, whoever comes up as a free agent from AEW, Swerve Strickland, Daniel Garcia, he has to overpay everyone to either get them, he has to overpay them to keep them, he has to really overpay them to get them to come in.
Yeah.
And he'll overpay even people that he probably shouldn't overpay. But he's always had access to just pulling people off the indies. It's one of the reasons independent wrestling and Japanese wrestling fell off a cliff, was because Tony took all the talent from all the shows. You could argue who's talent, who isn't. Everyone who was filling out these shows ended up signed to AEW. So now if all of a sudden you have a problem getting top talent, because most top talent aren't going to leave WWE, unless Tony's going to offer him $20 million. So if you're going to have problems getting top talent, and now all of a sudden you're going to start getting shut out at the grassroots level too, these are just the first programs, the first schools involved. Makes it sound like they want more. They probably want everyone. It's WWE.
Well, hold on now. They don't want everybody, because there's not only is there a lot of wrestling schools, but these people...
Everyone credible.
Okay, well, see, that's a big qualifier. You've just lopped
everyone who could train. Yeah,
you're continuing to lop off, 80 to 90%, but they want the best that they can trust, that they know what kind of business they're doing, that they know what kind of program they may have, and I'm sure they're going to, or already have investigated all of that, or there's going to be a closer Believe me, folks at the Nightmare Factory, Reality of Wrestling, Elite, Knox, Black and Blue, and Red all over, whatever places, if you're any kind of official, you're going to have some fucking scrutiny if they haven't changed that aspect of their business over the last 20 years or so. But they want these training programs that also go ahead and read the final paragraph, because it doesn't really talk about independent promotions per se. These are schools that may or may not run their own local events. And the last paragraph talks about independent wrestlers, but there's not that much about working with specific promotions.
Right, and I do find it funny that someone would go to that Elite Pro Academy and they'd go, "Oh, you aligned with AEW?" No, we're aligned with WWE. Why would Elite in the title give that away? Additionally, WWE ID will identify top independent wrestling prospects with an official WWE ID prospect designation and support their developmental journey by providing them with bread and butter, by providing financial opportunity and assisting...
all the gruel you can eat, kids, come on.
By providing financial opportunity and assisting with training, mentorship, and development, including access to world-class facilities, best-in-class ring training, athletic trainers, and more. WWE ID will give fans the opportunity to follow the paths of these standout prospects on the independent wrestling scene through curated, behind-the-scenes content, as well as highlights and matches showcased across WWE's social platforms.
Well, what it sounds like to me there, this is the only thing that I think they may have issues with, or not even just, it may get more complex or complicated than they're thinking it's going to be when they've come up with this plan. But if they have top indie guys that they don't want to bring to NXT just yet, but they're going to give them this prospect designation and support their journey by providing financial opportunity, that means put them on some kind of retainer. Hey, do whatever the fuck else you want, but we got right of first refusal to sign you to a legitimate contract or something of that nature. Assisting with training, etc., including access to facilities, blah, 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 means they probably will bring them periodically to the performance center to go to camps or to see what they're doing, or whatever. That makes sense. The giving fans the opportunity to follow the paths of these standout prospects through curated behind-the-scenes content and highlights and matches, that may get complicated, because if they're letting them, and that's another thing from a booking standpoint, I know they won't have any much financial investment to them, consider they're worth billions of dollars, in these guys, but if they're letting them do their own thing, they're going to be on some fucking shaggy dog outlaw shows. And hopefully they'll put some parameters on them as far as no death match stuff or whatever, because they're going to have to pass a blood test sooner or later if they want to get anywhere. But I'm wondering if they may have to carefully curate that content. Or here he is behind the scenes at the Wartburg, Tennessee County Fair, and here he is at a ring that's about to fall down in a mud match with a fucking hippopotamus.
And at the same time, WWE's about to cut down on house shows. Year after year, they announced already that they plan to almost get rid of house shows altogether. Makes you wonder if something like this gives you the opportunity to have small branded shows with talent that need that kind of experience.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is that at their level, if they run Des Moines on a Thursday night, they sell 5,000 tickets and wouldn't make enough money or even make any money to where, well, this ain't worth it. I mean, it's insane now, but you can't just study up or you can't go to football practice and your first game is a Super Bowl, right? Got to be in between. We've said this all along, between wrestling school and training and going on national television. And the reason why there's not enough things anymore in between that is why we see some things we see on national television. But I'm happy for all these people, but it ain't a fucking new idea, and it's kind of like a what the. Amazingly enough, we ought to concentrate more on the people that have actually shown a willingness and some level of dedication toward doing this for dick all or nothing. So let's see if any of them actually we think can be any good at it. It's what we were doing 20 years ago with our tryout camps for OVW. We were doing the WWE's job for them by having people submit their information. We would, politely decline the people. We wouldn't take their money if they were 40 years old or 5'6" and 225 pounds or didn't have any athletic background or in any way feel like they could be successful. And then we'd have them come and try out and train. And eventually, how many of those 20, 30 of those guys got developmental deals? But, yes, you have to go after people that want to do this. That's kind of the place you start.
It's that plus it's WWE trying to go after they said it there, the wrestling ecosystem. They don't want other It's still like it was under Vince in that respect. They don't want other players. It's people who play with them or nobody.
Well, they don't mind other players as long as those other players are, like you said, either play with them or just teeny tiny little fishies in the sea. They don't want any other fucking whales or especially any sperm whales. That's just totally against principle.
Well, this is your show.
Well, and since it's my show, I'm going to take it to places it's never been before. Brian, do you know what the happiest thing in the world is?
Blowjobs.
No. Now, see, your mind is still in the gutter.
Still?
You're still in the gutter. It's remained there for some time now. The happiest feeling in the world is when you can walk down the street and you can just be on any street, in any state, in the United States of America, or any street anywhere in the world, actually. And it doesn't matter what's going on around you, but you can hear sweet, sweet music. You can hear frantic heavy metal rock and roll, or you can hear sweet, sweet love making music like Isaac Hayes. Or you can hear pop like Bananarama. You can hear any kind of music, no matter what's going on around you. When the world is burning, there's fights on the street, people are being beaten up daily, or there's traffic accidents, car crashes right next to you. You won't even hear them because you'll be listening to sweet, sweet tunes. That's the happiest feeling in the world, isn't it? Can't you see that now?
I think the most important thing is that this is available on any street.
Any street.
Any street, no matter where you are, you can use these. No matter where it is.
If it's the act of walking down the street, the Raycon everyday earbuds will work for you. And you know what's better? They're wireless. That means you can't snag yourself or hang yourself or restrict yourself in any way by having encumbrances like wires hanging off of you. You can't live like savages, people. No, you'll be free as a bird. You can walk down the street, listen to these things, and take your clothes off and walk and be really free. Just hang out there for all the world to see your trials and tribulations or dribulations.
Don't do that.
Listen to happy music, walking the way that God intended you to be made when your mother got spermed by your father, and just walk down the street.
Bad idea.
And nobody's going to bother you if you're listening to the Raycon everyday earbuds, because they will know. They'll say, there, that naked guy or that naked woman
is getting arrested.
Raycons.
Is getting arrested, and they're going to remove the Raycons when they book you. So don't do that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't play in traffic naked listening to Raycon. With Raycon. You're not listening to Raycon. He himself is not a song.
Well, you're listening to Raycons, the plural Raycon. They make a bunch of these. They made several dozen pair of these just last week. But no, when they do the body cavity search, they're more interested in bend over. They don't look up your nostrils or in your ears. You can get away with the everyday earbuds, especially if you get the ones in vibrant colors that match most people's skin tones. Again, we're still working on leprosy and neuropathy, but other skin tones they pretty much nailed. And the Raycon's got a 32-hour battery life, so you can have time to get arrested, be put in jail, sit there, and then be sprung. And the multi-point connectivity helps you pair with 2 devices at once, which it's easier, again, if you're naked, to pair with 2 devices at once through the multi-point connectivity feature.
It has nothing to do with how easy it will be. Your clothing status.
Well, that's the way the demonstrator explained it to me.
What, the demonstrator? You had a demonstrator?
Yeah, this guy came over to the house and said, yeah, he was. He said, let me show you how these work. And I said, well, thankfully somebody was going to come by. I knew I'd called, days before. But nevertheless.
I don't think that's Raycon.
Well, he said his name was Ray.
That's not Raycon. I don't know. You got a con named Ray maybe, but you didn't get Raycon because Raycon has something I can say comfortably, a policy where no one will show up at your house nude to demonstrate anything. That's the Raycon way.
That's the Raycon way. Well, folks, do it the Raycon way. And right now, I'll tell you what, take Black Friday, ball it up, turn that sumbitch sideways, and shove it up your candy ass. And Cyber Monday can follow it if there's room still in that orifice, because buyraycon.com, that's BUYRAYCON.com, right now has discounts that will just blow those things to kingdom come. Up to 30% off site-wide. Sideways, Sidewinder. You can go to buyraycon.com/JCE today to get up to 30% off site-wide. Site-wide, that means everything on the site from one end of the site to the other, from one side to the other, from the top to the bottom. It's so wide you can't get around it, so low you can't get under it, and so high you can't get over it. buyraycon.com/JCE. Right now, do it at this moment. Hurry and scurry to get up to 30% off everything that you want to buy on that particular website. Did I make myself clear? Are you speaking to me on mute?
I'm having a great time talking to you on mute, and what was I just saying? I don't know. Jim?
Well, I couldn't hear it.
Whether it's on any street or however it may be, Raycon is for you. One more time, what's that promo code? Not on mute.
Yes, buyraycon.com/JCE, and it's good on every street, lane, avenue, boulevard, parkway,
highway,
and highway and other thoroughfare. Freeway. Well, no, it's not good on. You can't stop on the freeway. What's the matter with you?
Why do you have to stop? I don't understand what your point is.
Well, stop, get out, take your clothes off, and walk down the street. See how many people you see? How many people you see naked walking down the interstate? No, that's not permissible.
It's a Southern thing.
You're getting it all fucked up now.
Once again, buyraycon.com/JCE.
Yes, and before that we go to the world of SmackDown to set up the big crown jewel business, I want to make mention of my sale going on at JimCornette.com. If you have a dog in this fight, if you have purchased an item in the month of October from our on sale until the end of October, which I believe was the 31st, then you either have your item has been shipped, your item is in the hands of the feather bottoms, I dumped another 100 on them today, or your item will be signed and packed in this coming calendar week and in the hands of the feather bottoms to send out by, what would that be, Monday, November the 11th. And we are all caught up and moving forward with the big weekly sales all through the month of November. As a matter of fact, if you got the email, if you signed up for the email blast on jimcornette.com, the homepage where it says sign up for newsletter down at the bottom, then you would know that the Santa Corny action figures were on sale this week at half price from the 1st through the 8th of November. But if you missed that news, then as Mama Cornette would say, you shit and fell back in it. And you should sign up to avoid that in the future. Something's going to go on sale every week in the month of November. It's a feather bottom epiphany that he's had. This another one of these tremendous ideas that he has come up with and invented and is now going to trademark. Copyright. But anyway, or you can just go to, oh, come on. You continue to mock and to scoff at Hotchkiss, and he is not a person to be scoffed at or scuff marked either, except when it's a mutually, agreeable thing with the person that is scuff marking him with their shoes, which that's kind of a thing that we won't go into that. But nevertheless, go to jimcornette.com because everything's on sale every day at some price. Might not be a discount, but you can buy it if you want to.
What a great sales pitch that is. Honesty is the best policy. There's always something you can pay for. It just may not be a deal.
Yes, there's everything on sale at jimcornette.com is on sale every day for some list price that you can send me and we will send you but it's everyday low prices. They're so low, I can't cut them anymore, hardly. I'd be losing money. What is this, Make-A-Wish?